You know, some of the world's greatest art collections don't start in a museum boardroom. They start in a living room. And they don't begin with some grand plan, but with a spark between two people. Today, we're going to step inside the personal journey of T. Richard Fishbein and Estelle P. Bender and the absolutely magnificent collection of Japanese art they built together.
And that's really the key here. This whole thing wasn't some academic exercise, it was a shared passion. So when Estelle Bender, a psychiatrist, and Richard Fishbein, an investment banker, met back in the late 1970s, they were looking for something they could explore together. And as Estelle puts it so beautifully, they found that common ground in Japanese art, a discovery that would literally shape the next 30 years of their lives. So, what was this world they chose to explore? It was Japan's Edo period. Think about it. For over 2.5 centuries, Japan was mostly at peace. And that stability, it created this incredible, vibrant urban culture and let all these different artistic schools just flourish, each with its own totally unique vibe. This is the rich, creative soil where their collection was going to grow. Now, when you think of Japanese art, you might immediately picture those famous, super colorful prints, right? But the Fishbein-Bender collection started somewhere much more subtle. It started with a deep dive into the philosophical power of black, gray, and white. Just listen to how Richard Fishbein describes what first pulled him in. It wasn't just about the image on the paper. It was about the energy in the brushwork. And, maybe even more importantly, the power of what wasn't there, that empty space. He found this profound beauty in the minimalism and the raw, pure expression of ink painting. So in those early years, their collection basically grew along two main paths of ink painting. On one side, you had Nanga, the literati school. It's very philosophical, refined, kind of inspired by the poetic landscapes of Chinese scholars. And on the other side, you had the art of Zen monks, which is spontaneous, spiritually charged, and really designed to kind of jolt you into a new way of seeing things. It's like the difference between a quiet, thoughtful poem and a sudden, electrifying thunderclap. But you know how it is. Tastes can evolve, even for the most dedicated collector. So after years spent in this world of subtle, monochrome ink, something shifted dramatically. A whole new universe of artistic expression started calling out to them. That quiet contemplation of ink painting was about to be joined by something, dazzling. A completely new aesthetic entered the collection, one defined not by subtlety, but by spectacle. We're talking brilliant color, bold graphic design, and this incredibly luxurious take on the natural world. This was the Rinpa school. The Rinpa style is just a feast for the eyes. I mean, imagine these bold, flat areas of super vibrant color, often slapped right up against shimmering gold leaf backgrounds. Natural things, flowers, birds, rivers, they're stylized into these elegant, almost graphic designs. It's this decorative, nearly abstract approach that turns a simple screen into an absolutely breathtaking piece of art. And this new fascination wasn't just a general thing. Nope, it's centered on specific masters. Artists like Sakahoitsu and his brilliant student Suzuki Kitsu, they became cornerstones of the collection. They really represent this huge pivot from the quiet philosophy of ink to the stunning opulence of Rinpa. So what started as a hobby, a shared passion, was now becoming something more. The collectors started to think more like curators, moving from just acquiring what they loved to intentionally building a collection that told a much bigger story. And this, right here, this was the real turning point. As Richard Fishbein himself explained, he started to think about representing the full gamut of Edo art. He and Estelle deliberately set out to fill an important gap. They were evolving from passionate collectors into, curators of their own amazing personal museum. And to do that, they had to expand into new territories. They started acquiring works from the Maruyama Shijo school, which is known for its incredible naturalism and these super realistic depictions of animals and plants. And then, even though Richard had initially resisted it, they finally embraced Ukiyo-E, the iconic art of the floating world showing the courtesans, actors, and bustling city life of Edo. And that last one, Ukiyo-E, that one would have a massive impact, far, far beyond Japan. When these images, first as woodblock prints and then as paintings, started making their way to Europe and America, they just ignited a creative firestorm. This whole cultural phenomenon got a name, Japanisme. The bold lines, the flat colors, the wild compositions of Ukiyo-E.
It was a total revelation to Western artists. It directly influenced Impressionist and post-Impressionist masters. We're talking Monet, Degas, Van Gogh. It literally changed the course of Western art forever. For Fishbein and Bender, understanding this global connection just added another profound layer to the art they already loved.
You know, every great collection eventually has to face a big question. What's its future? For Fishbein and Bender, the answer was crystal clear. Their private passion was destined to become a public treasure. So in 2012, they promised their collection to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And we're not just talking 1 or 2 pieces. We're talking over 40 magnificent paintings, a gift that would completely transform the museum's holdings of Japanese art from this period. And this quote, this just reveals the heart of it all. Richard Fishbein, who sadly passed away in 2014, he had this really clear vision. It wasn't just about preserving art. It was about sharing the fascination that had enriched his and Estelle's lives and making sure his grandchildren, and really all of us, could see it and be inspired by it too. The Fishbein-Bender Collection, it's so much more than just a trip through art history. It's a testament to a shared love. It reminds us that across centuries and cultures, that search for beauty and harmony, it's a universal thing. And it kind of leaves us with a question, right? What art speaks to you, and what story will you end up telling with it?